This video is in a quick look at labeling on roads specifically. If we look here, we have a couple of roads with some silly names, rather long road names, just to make sure that we've got a long text that can create problems. And we have these point symbols here. This is the a symbol, an SVG symbol made from ready-made bits within QGIS. This, I think, is the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Not a believer myself, but you know, if you want to believe in something, why not believe in that? Personally, I don't see the need, but you know, who am I to judge? So we have these point symbols dotted around, and we can see that the road text it's interfering with this point symbol. We'd rather that it didn't get in the way. So let's just quickly look at the settings for this text here. The background, it has a buffer around it in the same color as the road symbol. It melts in a little bit more. This is fine when we only have one color of the road as well. If we have multiple labels, we could put different backgrounds for different labels, obviously. But for this example, this is fine. And we can see that the placement, it's curved. That allows it to go around these curves nicely around here. And we also see that the placement with the other settings is down here, distance every 100 map units, which in this case is meters. So that's perhaps one thing we can play with. If we adjust that setting, put it to 150 meters, click on apply, there are fewer symbols. Well, that still clashes there, and it's clashing over here now as well. Okay, so that didn't solve all of our problems. There's one way it might have done it. If I set that to say 200, let's see what that does. I suspect it's not going to solve our problem either. Oh, that was close. Does this problem occur when we look at in the layout view? So if we go to a layout here, got one here. Yeah, we're getting this problem in the layout, and this is the placement of the labels occurs on the fly in the normal map window, and when we look in this layout, it's determined by the scale of the main map. So we get the placement is determined by these factors. So we'll need to play around with these. We'd need to have to mess around quite a lot in order to get this right. But that is definitely one method. Just change the number of symbols that we want to place out. Let's put that back to 150 just to help with our demonstration. Click on apply, and we've got lots of symbols in the way. Over on how much can it shoot out at the end, we've set it to none because we've got quite long roads. Priority, this interference with objects within the same layer, unfortunately. It looks as if that should be the answer. You know, don't mess around with any other objects. Unfortunately, it only applies to objects within the same layer. So it's not going to help with these point objects. So what are we going to do? Well, the thing we can do is just a quick look at rendering. Does that help us anywhere? Label every part of multi-part features. That's quite interesting. If we remove that and click on apply, sometimes if you're not getting labeling along the whole feature, what you can do is go in here and click on that, and it will wake up and actually label the whole line. When I'm creating this demo, it was refusing to put labels along this part of the line to begin with, and then once I clicked that in, it started doing it, and I've just left it clicked in. But let's go back to properties and examine what we can actually do about this this problem here. So the thing we're going to use is we're going to go to placement, and we have this thing called the geometry generator. If we click on that, we get this window up, and normally this is empty. I've already put in what we're going to do here. So what we need to do is we need to create a zone around the points in which we can't place a label from this line layer. So now I'm in the settings for the line layer, and I need to say to the line layer, wherever you see one of these points, don't place a label there. And we do that by using a couple of tools here in this geometry generator. So what we need to do is we need to use a tool called aggregate, which is just the name of the tool. Personally, I don't think it makes a hell of a lot of sense why it's called aggregate, but that's just what we've got to use. We're going to go in and pull some information from the PointData layer. The PointData layer is the one with the flying spaghetti monster symbols. Our PointData is stored in that layer. We're going to go and collect the geometry from it. Great. Using this tool called aggregate. It's just what it's called. And around those, we are going to set a buffer of 50 units, 50 meters. So we're buffering here. This belongs to this, so this parentheses here, buffer whatever's in this parentheses by this much. And then we're going to take that buffer and we're going to create a difference. We're going to use, similar to the intersect tool, we're going to create a difference between that and the geometry of our line. So this is the geometry of the current feature, being the line feature, because we're in the layer properties of the line data. Hope you're with me there. And then we also need to make sure that these settings are correct down here. What type? If I change that to polygon, it starts moaning. But it's actually, so we're just, because this is line data and it has no area, it just has a length, but we've buffered around the point. We could, in theory, and I can demonstrate this later, get some polygons or points, but what we're getting is a line that's been hacked into pieces by the buffer when we do this differencing. So if we click on that and we click on apply, what it's done is it said there's a zone around each of these points where you're not allowed to put a label. And so it avoids doing it. We don't see labels, so that's very peculiar. That needs adjusting. Somehow the curvature is not working there. So if we go back to their placement, no, it's gone into parallel. Let's put that into curved, click on apply, and it's back to being good again. Somehow I must have changed. That's when I'm using the scroll wheel. That happens quite a lot. So now we've got our labels following the line around there and not colliding with this point symbol. That was achieved by going to placement down here, and we go to geometry generator, and then we put in this code. So we're going to make the difference between our current feature, the geometry of our current feature, which needs this $ geometry, and a buffer around the point data and that we gathered here using this aggregate tool. So that's how we create these buffers around the points and then tell the line data to not put any labels there. And it should work in a very similar way for the polygon features. We could try, but before we look at the polygon features, what I will do is just show that geometry at work again and what we can do. So if we click on the points, you go to symbology there. Here we can see our symbol there, and we can add, if we want, we can even add to find out how big this buffer is. We said it was, how big did I say that buffer was? I've completely forgotten already. There we go. So we go to our labels, and we go down to our geometry, that 50 meters we set around there. So let's show what 50 meters looks like. You can go to symbology and we can add a new marker. Let's move it down to the bottom immediately, and it's going to be geometry generator. So we'll take the geometry. It's immediately suggesting that we should create something from the geometry because it's a geometry marker, and we can again type buffer, and then we go out here and type 50, and that will show us. Now that's a bit ugly, so let's just change the symbol there. We can actually get rid of the fill and just have the line marked as a dotted line. And then we can see this is the buffer. We're using exactly the same buffer around the data points. That's what's being avoided. That's the area the line symbols are trying to avoid, and the best placement after that is like this, according to the algorithm. So that's what we've done for that. If we have a collision with polygons, so this almost 200 is the label for this polygon. It's not the label for the point symbol. So what do we do with those? I mean, it's a similar operation. We can, in fact, go back here. We go to our labels there, and we can copy that. and then we click on cancel there, and then we go polygon data, click there. And for that, we're going to go labels, the same thing again there, mode free, angled, can do what it likes. And there, we've got our geometry. Let's make that 50 instead of 150 in there. So it's going to do the same thing. We click on apply there. The label disappeared on one of them. That one, the label managed to move down there. The smaller one, well, it didn't work. It's moved up. So what happens if we try allow placing labels outside? Click on apply there, and the label for this polygon turns up there on the outside. There wasn't room on the inside for it to be. We could do using perimeter curved. What would that do? Click on apply there. Yeah, no, that's because of course all of that is off limits. It can't be in there. Above the line, on the line, below the line. We could try increasing the distance. Does that do anything? Yeah, so this is, in these situations we have a problem. These can be very difficult to resolve. It doesn't quite know where it can place the label. We can see here with a curved one, where there's a lot more room, it could place this curved label around using perimeter curved. This offset from center, or rather we had the free, sorry, that was the free one there. Click on apply there, and it can place it freely around. It can even change the angle if it should want to. So we always, of course, have some sort of issue to deal with. Nothing is ever easy. It's not simple. And this here we see this problem of we could try reducing the size of this this zone that we're not allowed to use. So if we were to go down to our geometry and change that to say 30, click on apply. It's still not quite there, but we are now allowed to place it outside, and it does work. But okay, so we've now managed to move the labels off of all the point symbols here around. And there we can see there's another problem with the line with those layers there. Let's just fix that before we go any further. Just to show you, just in case you've missed that one, so we all know where we are. Then we go to advanced. Symbol levels, remember this one, that should actually be a 1. Click on OK, and then apply, and there they meet nicely. So that was how you fix the labels. It's not straightforward, it's a little bit more advanced, but it's doable.